my name is Angelica Martinez, and I want you to imagine for a second going out into adulthood, just stepping out fresh out of high school without knowing how interest rates work, credit scores, or even how to put together a simple budget. That sounds pretty risky, right? Yes. So many of us who have graduated high school are walking out without these essential skills. Which brings me to my point is that I believe that financial literacy should be a required high school course. It's not just a nice to have, it is a tool that will impact the students for the rest of their lives. So today I want to walk you through why we should require it and how it'll make a difference. So there are some studies that I want to present to you. And one would be from Titan Partners and Next Gen Personal Finance. They estimate that a one semester personal finance class yields an average lifetime benefit of $100,000 per student. That's a really big number. But the logic is that better decisions that are made around their debt, their credit, and their savings adds up over the decades. So that one semester that a student would take to learn about their finances would help them save about $100,000 in their lifetime. In states that enacted mandated personal finance education, those young adults who went through these courses had higher credit scores and lower default rates on their loans. And so that's from the Center for Financial Literacy. They've done a study on that, as well as the Titan Partners. A newer study from 2023 looked at different states, and they wanted to see what happens when school required financial education. And they found that when students were required to take these classes, they felt more confident about their money and they actually did better with their finances. Other research shows that when students have to take personal finance classes, they make better choices about college loans and they're less likely to have trouble paying them back. That study is from the Consumer Interests. So sometimes there's, other information, critics, there is conflicting information perhaps that you might have read or heard, but most people will say, well, they can learn that at home, or it shouldn't really be a required class. It should really be like an elective or something that they're taught later on in college. However, there are states who did implement this, and those include Alabama, Iowa, Missouri, Mississippi, North Carolina, Tennessee, Utah, and Virginia. All of them required standalone finance courses before graduation. And through a study from Cambridge University, they realized and they seen the numbers of students who's and across multiple, states, across multiple high schools, they showed better outcomes on credit, the debt repayment, and the overall confidence of the student. There are some other practical benefits as well, besides just learning how to manage money. There is also stress reduction, and there's more civic capacity for the students. It's not just about numbers and credit scores. There's human and psychological benefits to them learning this at a younger age instead of waiting till college or taking it as an elective or just not getting the information at all is typically what happens. So students who take finance courses are more likely to form good habits overall. They are also less likely to go into what they call predatory lending, where interest rates are really high and they end up having to default on their loans, like mentioned earlier through one of the studies. And so we want to also be able to implement it well. We want to make sure that we have well trained teachers, that we have a robust curriculum, and that the cost of implementing this curriculum, that we learn how to partner with other nonprofits or other companies that are already taking the lead on this, and partner with them so that we can help both the teachers and the students benefit from something that'll help them in the long run. Uh, One thing is that I live in California. I don't know what state you're living in now, if whether or not it's already implemented in your state. I know that in one of the laws that had passed last year, they have approved uh, California as one of the states to go ahead and implement that in our high school. But that won't be ready to start until 2030 to 2031 school year. And so I'm really happy that they finally got that, but it is just for one semester. It's not a whole full year. And so I'm hoping that with your help, with helping educate our high schools, helping to educate our parents, helping to educate the the laws that will be passing, through the ballot and so forth, that we make a conscious decision to help our students by asking for a more longer, more robust curriculum that'll last more than just one semester, since this is something that will that will impact them, I'm sorry, for the rest of their lives. And so there's some things that people will say, again, those objectives, is that sometimes teens don't really care about it or won't retain the knowledge. Um, they will say, perhaps I've heard also people say that it's the family's job to teach this and not the schools, and that we don't have enough qualified teachers. But in those instances where I had mentioned before, is that partnering with places that are already implementing it, that do already have the tools, that's a great place to start. If your school is not quite there yet or hasn't passed the law, to include it in their high school requirements, that you speak up, that you ask for information, that you ask to partner with schools, that they bring in other organizations, nonprofits, banks, and different areas in the community that will come in and help the students learn about financial structure, financial just information in general. And so to wrap it up in my conclusion, many students lack the access. And despite wanting it, many young adults have not had it. And we want to close that gap. And we teach math, science, history, and the language of money is something that should be implemented along with those curriculums. So I just thank you for your time, and I ask that you also do some research and learn about whether or not your state, or perhaps soon to be, will be requiring it. And if not, be a voice for your student. Thank you.